Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield, and this is Lunch with Lisa. It is a pleasure to see you all. And today I am going to talk about something that I find extremely important, and it is the idea of whether we learn through joy or we learn through pain. So, there is a line that I talk about a lot. It happened on my first date with my husband, Benjamin. I think he must have asked me, well, what are you looking for in a relationship? Something like that, right? That comes up on every date. And I said to him something that I had never said to anyone, and especially not to a man before. And I said, I have been working so hard on myself and I'm done working hard. All I want to do is find a great man and have fun with him. Well, idea, that idea of I've been working so hard and I'm done working hard, most people hear the second line, I just want to meet a great guy and have fun. But they miss the first part of that statement, which was, I've been working so hard. And what I was saying to my husband, or my future husband, was something that was inspired by Marianne Williamson, who teaches from A Course in Miracles. And she often talks about a line in the Course. It's not up to you what you learn, but only whether you learn through joy or through pain. Most of my learning had been painful. It had been an incredibly painful and punishing process. And because of that, it made it very, very difficult for me to grow and learn because I would beat myself up and I was so hard on myself. I had these very high expectations. I'm sure a lot of my punishing behavior came from my childhood, from my parenting, from an attitude of, I'm telling you this for your own good, and brutal honesty, all of these things that people say, I'm being brutally honest and I'm telling you this for your own good. But I had gotten so much critical feedback growing up. And so I internalized that voice. I call that voice my frenemy. And I have a name in the work I do with my clients. One of the very, very first things we do in my 12-week emotionally naked dating program is we identify this frenemy voice and we give it a name. So my frenemy's voice was named Hudy, Hudy, and it was a combination of Helen and Judy, my grandmother and my mother. And they were, I know they loved me very, very much, but they were very critical of me growing up. And so I internalized this critical, judgmental voice, and that became my frenemy, my inner critic, and it beat me up. I was very, very, very self punishing and hard on myself. And what was really sad about that is that it was humorless. I couldn't laugh, there was not a lot of humor in making mistakes. I wasn't easy on myself. I didn't have a lot of joy, even though happens to be my middle name. And I thought that by being hard on myself, I was going to toughen up and it would make it so that I would learn these things because I was being hard and strict with myself. And I wasn't being, if I was nice or kind or forgiving or understanding, I would be permissive. And then, I wouldn't grow somehow. I don't know where we get this twisted thinking, but that was the way I looked at it, that I was taking things seriously by being punishing and hard on myself and making things hard work. And so when I heard this line from A Course in Miracles that, we can learn through joy or we can learn through pain, and that we actually have a choice in the matter. That was kind of a revelation for me. And it was one of those great epiphanies that I had in my life, that we have, that really changed the course of our lives. And I started to think about, why am I punishing with myself, and what is that doing to me? And what I realized was, it was just making it impossible for me to grow and learn, because I was so hard on myself. And if I did do something wrong, I would beat myself up, and then it would make it difficult for me to want to try and put myself out there. I was very cautious and tentative because I was so afraid of making mistakes. And it wasn't just other people who were hard on me, it was that I was being hard on myself. And you just can't grow and thrive in an environment like that. It's very, very, very laborious and hard to grow when we're being, so self-punishing. So when I sat across from my husband on that first date and I said, I'm done working hard on myself, it didn't mean that I was done working on myself, but I was just done making life hard. And I look back over my life. I don't know if some of you do, but I think of these moments, these turning points that really were just new choices, decisions I made to be different, to be kinder to myself, to make life more joyful, more fun. But it was just a decision. It's not like I had to go and do some process and sit there in a therapist's office and talk ad nauseum for why I'm so hard on myself, and where did I get that from, and why do I do that, and what are some techniques to stop doing it. I look at so many people who do self-help work, and even something like this, like realizing that they're hard on themselves, then they make that hard, and then they make that a big deal. And so much of personal transformation really does come down to having a breakthrough, and then being willing to make a different choice. And it can be, again, learning through joy and not pain. It can be that simple. It really can be that simple. And so once I started to learn this, and I realized that, I didn't have to sit there and tap and do all these things and journal and process and whatever, but that I could actually have a breakthrough, an epiphany. And then I didn't expect, because I started learning through joy, I started being more loving and more self-accepting and more patient with myself. I knew that it would take time to integrate these new behaviors, these new awarenesses. I knew that it wasn't an overnight process, but I also knew that with time and with awareness, I could start to do it differently. And so this choice that I made of learning through joy instead of pain was a game changer. When we're hard on ourselves, we also tend to be hard on others. That's another piece of this. We're not just being demanding and holding ourselves to unreasonably high standards. We hold other people to high standards, and it makes us hard to be around. So one of the other things that I saw when I was working hard on myself and being hard on myself was that I wasn't fun to be around. It wasn't easy to be my friend. It wasn't easy for people to want to be around me. And I'll take this out into my love life and into dating. Boy, did I make that painful. I made the whole dating process so difficult for myself, because every time I messed up, or every time a guy didn't call me back, or every time something happened, I would just beat myself up. And it makes it almost impossible to go out. It's actually counterproductive, because by beating myself up and berating myself and making myself feel badly, I just felt smaller. It wasn't uplifting. It didn't make me feel more positive and like I wanted to go out there and give it another go. I would drag all of those awful feelings into the next date and into the next date and into the next date. And I wasn't able to loosen up. I wasn't able to try practice new behaviors, be more lighthearted, be more playful. We think that we can hide all of that. I know I talk to some women and they say, well, I'm not like this on a date. I don't carry this, negativity or this heaviness into a date. And sure, we can all go on a date, maybe a first date or a second date, have a cocktail, put on a good show and act like we're having a good time and be charming. But eventually, your true self is going to come out, and a man who's sitting there listening is going to hear your negativity. He's going to hear how hard you are on yourself. And the reason for that is because you're not able, it's very difficult to self witness. It's very, very difficult for us to see ourselves the same way other people see us, because we're not objective. And so, because of that, we can't self witness. We don't know when we're slipping into these old behaviors, or when that negative Lisa is rearing her ugly head, or the self absorbed or the judgmental me is coming out. But somebody who is sitting across from you on a date, they'll pick up on those things. I actually have a client who, or a former client, she is now one of my two coaches in my 12-week emotionally naked dating program. She's happily engaged to a wonderful man, and she has a relationship that I would put on par with the best relationships out there. She's with a man who absolutely adores her. We call him the guardian of her soul. And my former client slash current coach, she was extremely hard on herself. Now, she has a wicked sense of humor, and she's incredibly sweet and intelligent and bright, but she had also some negativity, and she thought that she could go and mask that on a date by being light and playful and funny and whatever. And I said to her, look, a guy is going to pick up on this stuff. And she said, oh no, that's not how I am on a date. And I said, well, I think you may think you're hiding it, but I think if you're not really authentically radiating joy and happiness and positivity and self-acceptance, they're going to pick up on that, and that may be why you're stumbling in this part of your life. And so sure enough, she met a guy, and he was very excited about meeting her, and he said, I'm really looking forward to this date and I can't wait to meet you. And she made just a little offhand comment, and she said, well, how do you even know we're going to like each other when we meet? And he stopped and he said, wow, that's not very positive. That's not and I'm sure he felt like she threw a bucket of cold water on his enthusiasm, which she did. And she just was being herself. And that was her true self, kind of rearing its little head there and peeking out behind that facade that she thinks that she thought she was putting on for men. And he picked up on it and he commented. And, this guy turned out not to be her guy. There were other, things that went on. But the point is that he caught on to what she was saying and she couldn't hide it. And shortly after that, Rebecca came back to me and she said, Lisa, oh my God, you were so right. I had no idea, but you were 100% right. And you can't hide this stuff. And, they do see through it and they do see what's really going on behind that mask or that facade. And right after that, she had this massive breakthrough. And I don't know if she'd put it into these words, but I think she decided to let go of all of that and to stop working so hard and thinking that she had it all figured out, which she didn't, and just to start to have fun, to lighten up and to learn through joy instead of pain. So I would invite all of you to take this on because this is such a game changer. It really is. It was a life-changing breakthrough for me to decide to stop making dating, making life so hard, making personal growth hard. The truth was I knew I had a lot to learn. And I was so worried about what other people would think and how they'd see me. And, I'd had a lot of judgment and criticism in my life, but in my young life. But at some point, what mattered was bringing kindness and patience and self acceptance and joy to myself. I often hear people say, well, I'm really hard on myself, but I'm so loving towards others. Well, why would you be hard on yourself? Why? Why would you want to do that? We've all got growing and learning to do, especially in this part of our lives, in our love lives. We are so naive. So many of us are out there trying to create the most difficult thing there is to create in life, which is a truly loving, lasting, emotionally connected guardian of our soul relationship with the opposite sex. And learning how to be in a partnership, learning how to not make it about you all the time, learning how to get a handle on your emotions, learning how to understand the opposite sex, learning how to ask for what we want and need in a relationship. Most of these things are not taught to us. We have very, very few excellent role models for any of these things. And most of us have to go out and learn this on our own. Can you all imagine what it would be like to have a course in high school or college about how to communicate with the opposite sex and have a beautiful, healthy, loving partnership? How to talk about waiting to have sex, how to ask for a commitment, how to talk about these very vulnerable things with another person, somebody that we really are deeply in like or in love with, right? And to learn how to be vulnerable, how to handle the rejection if that person isn't into us and doesn't reciprocate our feelings or isn't ready for a relationship. How not to take all of that personally. Could you imagine if we had a course somewhere along the way where we actually learn these important life skills? Nobody teaches us these things. So how are you going to go out into the dating world and find or attract the guardian of your soul if you're being punishing and hard on yourself as you learn these things? The only way you'll ever have that beautiful, open, vulnerable, emotionally naked relationship with another person is by first learning how to be kind and loving and patient and accepting with yourself. And that's where it starts. Learning through joy instead of pain. That's where it all begins. That is self-love. Allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to fail, to get it wrong, to look like a fool sometimes, to not have it all figured out, to not have to be right, and to not care what other people think of you. That's where it's really at. If you can do that, then you'll be able to sit across from a handsome man on a date, and you'll be able to look at that man and say, I've been working so hard on myself, and I'm done working hard. All I want to do is meet a great guy and have fun. And if it's the right man, you may have met the guardian of your soul. I'm Lisa Shield. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a wonderful podcast. It's called Dating Without Trauma. I do 2 episodes a week. So if you're looking for the podcast, you will only find it under the title Dating Without Trauma. I do 1 podcast episode myself, and then I do another episode each week called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind with my absolutely incredible guardian of my soul, Benjamin Shield. I also have a YouTube channel, so please go and rate and like the podcast. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you don't mind. Those ratings really help and they make me feel very happy. It lets me know that I'm doing this well and that I'm striking a chord with all of you. If you have suggestions, we love your suggestions. In fact, we're going to be doing some question and answer episodes. So please send them to podcast@lisashield.com. Also, I have a brand new website coming out soon that is my masterpiece. It has been my dream to have an absolutely extraordinary website. I don't know why, but that was one of my dreams, and that'll be coming out soon. So please hop over and check that out. If you enjoy what I say, what my husband and I say, please watch my free 45-minute presentation. It may be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent on your love life. And you can find that by going to lisashield.com. It's all over the website. There are buttons and buttons and buttons everywhere you look. You don't have to look too hard. And is there anything else I need to tell you? I don't think so. Just come back, join me again, join my husband and me, and please tell everyone you know to watch or listen to this and listen to my episode with Benjamin. I'm Lisa Shield. Thank you so much for joining me.